Can Ukraine ensure the democratic integrity of its elections?
The democratic integrity of the upcoming elections are probably the most important questions coming now, because the ideology has not become the top topic between the candidates. What is the real fears that the campaign, both for the presidential and for the parliamentary elections, will be quite dirty, with a lot of blackmailing coming against the candidates. How it can be ensured not to have these problems, first of all, are definitely the responsible media, the fact-checking, and the personal responsibilities of the candidates. Because the integrity of the democratic campaign can be ensured, first of all, by the candidates themselves, how responsible they can be with the information they are presenting, with the position, and with their actions and actions of their teams. Because let's be honest, sometimes we have the problem that the team would like to please their candidates that much that the means are not interested for them, but the results. So these questions definitely among the tops. However, at the same time, we should not forget about the old and new problems, the oligarchs, or better to say this time, the financing of the political campaigns. Recently, additions to the Ukrainian legislation were made and elections became more transparent, but still how money are spent for the elections should be on the real checking from the authorities and from the civil society. The Russian interference is another question, because at these elections we will not have the open propaganda or support of one of the candidates as we had it at the previous elections. But at the same time, we should be very careful about the cybersecurity. We should be very careful about the intervention in the media and in the social networks, and all the activities that, for example, the leaking information, as the US elections demonstrated 2 years ago. So currently we're on the stage where we should be, first of all, aware of all the problems that can undermine the transparency and democratic process, and both civil society, experts community, and politicians should take the responsibility to secure integrity of these elections.
Are economic reform proposals of the leading candidates addressing key economic needs?
Economic questions and economic reforms are definitely in the agenda of all 5 top candidates at these presidential elections, but at the same time it is difficult to say, are they reflecting the key economic problems of the country, or they are just reflecting the social request. Because what we see from the programs currently available, it is definitely answering the questions about taxation. First of all, the questions of the possible decrease of the VAT, for example, taxes, or the income taxes, as a possibility for getting out of the shadow economy, so to increase the tax revenue of the state budget. The second issue that many of them are talking about is the energy security and the prices for the energy sources. Then we can see the topics of pensions, so what is more social rather than economic issue for the Ukrainian society. And only in the current president program of Mr. Poroshenko we see the attitude, or let's say the reply, the answer to the questions about the IT industry. So the certain economic and tax issues about these group of the business and startup. However, none of the candidates are presenting the macroeconomic answers. They are not proposing the new economic course for the country. So it looks like currently either they are not ready to answer these questions, or they prefer more populistic approach to the economic issues, what the average voter can understand and can appreciate as the personal appealing to them.
How will the elections impact resolution of the conflict in the East?
The conflict in the east of Ukraine is already influencing the election process, because we already have the statements, for example, from the Russian Federation that they can support any of the candidates except of the current president, and because of this they don't want to have the full negotiations in the Normandy format, for example, or even they are not boycotting, but they are undermining the negotiations within the Minsk format. If we analyze 5 top candidates, candidates, what we definitely see that only two of them have quite a strong position about the Russian Federation, that is Poroshenko and Gritsenko. Others are ready for negotiating with Putin, and sometimes when they are telling in their interviews about this readiness, it's not understanding what are their red lines in these negotiations, or they are just presenting so-called pacifist attitude when they are ready to surrender just to stop the conflict. Tymoshenko and Zelensky are proposing the new formats of the Budapest or Budapest Plus. However, at the same time, it is not that much understandable currently, do they want to supplement, to add something to the Normandy format, or they would like just to cancel Normandy format negotiations and to start something from the very scratch. Unfortunately, from their statements and their foreign policy advisors, it is still not understandable. Do they really understand how this new format can work? What can be the real added value of this? Or can the so-called Budapest format really change the attitude of the main actor in these negotiations, the president of the Russian Federation? Because what we see now, the problem is not in the formats, but the problem is more in the disagreement or unwillingness to participate in the negotiations. Concerning the violence, this option is always on the table, unfortunately, especially if the Russian Federation will not be satisfied with the results.